Hi everyone, in this tutorial, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can actually create the effects, some particle effects, and how the shooting of enemy characters will change and affect the enemy characters. They're gonna be deactivated once their health reaches a point below 0. So first, I'm going to start with creating a particle effect. I'm gonna need a particle effect because when my bullets actually hit the enemy player, I want I want the bullet to create some sparks or some kind of effects, and it will also help the player to see where he actually shot. So let's go to click on Game Object, Particle System. Now we just created a particle system, as you can see it, but it's not quite what I want. I want it to be a little bit more like sparks, you know. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start changing things. First of all, sparks are a little bit faster. They don't go for such a long time, for such a long place. So I'm gonna change emission first. From rate is gonna be 0. Instead, it's gonna be bursts. All right. So click the plus here. So it's going to be bursts of sparks. Maybe 20 at the beginning, and then it's 0, 0, and then 0.1. It's going to be another 10, 15. So let's try that. That's better. And I'm going to change the shape as well. Instead of cone, maybe let's use some sphere and let's emit from the shell. So that's better. But the radius should be smaller. So maybe something like this. And then another thing is sparks usually get affected by the gravity, so they need to go down. That's why I'm going to change the modifier, gravity modifier, with 2.5. So, well, yeah, they go down, but maybe let's make it 0.5 and see if that's better. Maybe 0.7. Yeah, that's better. And now currently they go quite a distance, and I really don't want that. Instead, I'm gonna just make sure the duration is maybe for like 1.5 seconds, and their lifetime is also 1.5 seconds. And let's see what happens. Yeah, and then another thing is their speed. There's start speed, not the sparse, but let's go with the size first. I'm going to make sure it's random between two constants, and those constants are 0.25 and 0.5. Yeah, that's better. And speed, maybe let's make speed 10. That's too much. Go back to 4. It was 5, let's go to 4. That's a little bit better. And we have the gravity modifier. Maybe let's make gravity modifier 0.7. Now, play on awake, yes, and scaling mode, don't worry about that. Simulation mode should be world, and it's not going to be a loop, so it's going to be shot once. Okay, now the color, start color. I'm going to make it random between two, I'm going to make it a gradient. And so it's going to start with white. It's going to be maybe yellowish, right? And then finally it's going to be a little bit orangish, reddish, right? So let's close this and let's see how this looks. A little bit better, maybe less white here. And then here it's going to be more reddish. Color that way. Yeah, that's better. And now I think that's good enough for now. And I'm going to rename this particle sparks. Now this is a very basic way to create a particle system. You can also get some from asset store. I'm gonna make this a prefab, right? And then I'm gonna remove this. Next thing I'm gonna change is I'm gonna edit this enemy object. So first of all, we don't need these many waypoints. It can only just work on two waypoints. I'm gonna delete these all the other waypoints. It's gonna work. It's gonna go between this and these points, right? And enemy. Now I'm gonna create a empty game object. So it's gonna be an enemy prefab. Let's call this, and I'm gonna add both the enemy and the waypoint system into this enemy prefab, and I'm gonna create a prefab out of this. So if I want to actually make more than one robot, I can just drag and drop in the scene. I don't have to worry about creating everything from scratch. So let's see how things work. Just to check, enemy is working. If I go in there, he's gonna be looking at me. That works good too. Okay, now so I'm gonna start creating a script for the bullet, and create C# script. Let's call this projectile because the robot is gonna use the same thing. Now we're gonna add a void on collision enter script and method. It's gonna collision parameter. Now if collision game object has a tag of robots, or collision game object has a tag of player, it's going to send them a message. Collision game object send message. Using the send message method, you can actually call a function or a method that is located in a script that is attached to a different object. So I'm going to call a method called do damage. Okay. And this method will deduct their health points. So, and then after that, the bullet will be destroyed. Now, destroy and instantiate methods are not actually recommended because they cause performance overheads. But it's the basic way to do it. We're gonna be doing this for now. Later on, I'm gonna make more advanced tutorials where I'm gonna show you how to do object pooling. That's the better way to do it. But this is a good way to start. So we'll switch to object pooling later. It's an advanced way to do it. Destroy. We're gonna be destroying this game object. Means this game object is the game object of the bullet that is instantiated. So as soon as it collides something, it destroys itself right after it calls the do damage method. Now we're gonna go to the let's see, enemy AI script. Here I'm gonna implement the do damage method, and we're gonna deduct health points. But right now we don't have health points, so I'm gonna add it here. Public int health points equals, let's say 100, and we're gonna have a bool to check. Public bool is destroyed. At the beginning it's false, because if it's destroyed, then it's not going to be doing any of the things that it's doing here, right? If is destroyed as false, then it's going to be following the waypoints and stuff. And then, so when the damage happens, let's say each bullet deducts 10 points, right? Bullets health points minus equal 10, and if health points reached lower than 0, then agent will actually, the robot is destroyed. void die, and we're going to call it here die. Now the die, when the robot dies, now remember this robot has also a top part that keeps rotating towards the player, and it shoots the player the whole time when he can. So we're going to actually deactivate that part. So the top part had a script, public enemy target control, let's say top, and the enemy target control constantly aims at the player and shoots the player as long as player is in sight. Now I'm going to put another flag here, say bool can't shoot, right? As long as it's true, it can keep shooting. So let's say, let's put all this code inside can shoot, right? Now, what I'm going to do is when the robot is shot and he can't perform anymore, he's going to enemy top that can shoot will be false. Okay, then he can't shoot anymore. At that point, I'm going to make sure the robot is just his top part is just down. So we're gonna top that transform that rotation will be quaternion identity, which will reset the rotation, because if he died when he's looking at the player, then his rotation is not normal, it's looking somewhere else. Actually, you know, we don't need this. Maybe let's try doing it without resetting rotation. Top that transform that rotate. I'm gonna just rotate it 90 degrees, so it's gonna create an effect that the robot just tipped over or something like that. Minus 90f, 0f, 0f when he dies. And let's see, we have the damage here, we have the die method here, and we also, when he dies, is destroyed will be true. Is destroyed equals true, right? And this method is called as long as he's not destroyed, because once he's destroyed, there's no point in just keep calling this method. If is destroyed is false, all right, and we can keep calling this method. And the damage is happening. There's a projectile, and one more thing: the bullet will actually create a spark effect when it hits the robot. So we're gonna use that particle effect prefab that we created earlier. Let's call this sparks, game object sparks. Okay, and we're gonna create, if it hits a robot or the player for now, that's fine. Then we're gonna instantiate sparks. Spark instantiate sparks. Now, where are we going to instantiate this? We're going to instantiate at the contact point, so wherever it hits either the robot or the player. So sparks collision dot contacts. So these are the contacts, right? 0 dot point. So this actually gives you the point where the collision happened. And quaternion dot identity, so it's default rotation, because with the particle it's not really that important. It's as a game object. So the collision, if you hit a robot, or the bullet, if the bullet hits a robot or a player, it's going to call the method on them, do damage, and then it's going to create some sparks, and then it's going to destroy itself. Now we haven't done the player damage effect here. Gonna call void do damage. You can actually do the same, just copy paste some of the stuff from the enemy AI. So player will also have some health points. Right, so you can go up and paste this here, and then is the player dead? We're gonna have a boolean flag. Bool is dead. False. And the player will be doing everything he's doing as long as he's not dead. If is dead. If is dead is false. Otherwise he can't do any of that stuff. And go down here. So do damage, and then he's also have a die method. If he is not dead, then we can deduct health points of the player. Let's say -5 will give player some advantage, and if health points are less than 0, then the player dies. Okay. When he dies, is dead becomes true, and for now, let's just say player just rotates 90 degrees. It means he kisses the floor. Rotate around x-axis. There's actually more delicate ways to do it, such as using ragdolls or using a death animation, but our model doesn't have a death animation, so we're just gonna make the player tip over. Okay. And let's see, everything works. We didn't get any compiler errors. That's a good sign. Enemy prefab, let's see if there's any missing things. Yeah, it's missing the top part here, as you can see. So drag and drop the top here, and it becomes that way. And then just make sure you select the enemy prefab, and then press apply. That way, it applies the changes to actual prefab. So when you have copies of this, they also have those changes applied to them. Okay, so and we have the player here, and then the top is fine, bottom is fine. And for the player, let's see if there's anything. You can see if he's dead or not. He's not dead yet. Now, one thing we need to modify is the bullet prefab. So we go to prefabs and choose the bullet object. And we're gonna add component, type in projectile. This is the script that we already created, projectile. So it needs a sparks prefab, which we already created here, particle sparks. Drag and drop into sparks slot. And one more thing, the robot needs to have a robot tag. So go and choose enemy, add tag, let's call it robot, and then go to the enemy, make sure he has a robot tag, and again with the prefab, enemy prefab, choose apply, and now let's see what happens. Actually choose the enemy so you can actually see his health points. Right now it's 100, right? So I'm gonna go there and start shooting at him. Right now he doesn't shoot at me, but as I shoot him, you can see the sparks coming out, and also his health points are going down, and he's dead. So that's pretty much it. Now make sure he can also shoot. So choose top. Okay, he'll be shooting from the top. So can't shoot as long as he can actually shoot. Let's organize this script a little bit, and let's implement a shoot method with shoot. Now he will, you know what, actually we're gonna need a coroutine. So because if you let him shoot every frame, he's going to shoot at us 25 times a second, and that's not really that good. So I'm going to say enumerator. So you can use coroutines to pause scripts. Okay, let's leave it there for now. So I'm going to shoot, and then I'm going to make him wait for a little bit, and then he's going to shoot again. He's going to wait again. And I'm going to say public bool ready to shoot, because if he, let's say if we wanted to delay his shooting 3 seconds, she's going to shoot, and then ready to shoot will be false. And then it again will go back to true after waiting a certain amount of time. That way we're going to be actually pausing him. So this is going to be true at the beginning. And then he's also going to have a public float shoot delay. Let's say he should be able to shoot at us every half a second. Now here, let's call this wait to shoot. Now ready to shoot will be false, and then yield return new wait 4 seconds shoot delay. So we're gonna wait for half a second, and then he's ready to shoot again. True. Now we're gonna apply this inside the shoot method. Void shoot. Now we're gonna say if he's actually ready to shoot, then we're gonna call this coroutine wait to shoot, right? And then now here we're gonna actually write the code where it starts shooting. By the way, sorry for the braces. There's not gonna be curly braces, just a semicolon. And then, but he needs to shoot from his 2 barrels. He's got two guns, right? So we're gonna actually public transform. I'm gonna add an array of transforms, and let's say barrels, right? And then he will be shooting from each of these barrels every time he is shooting. So let's say, maybe I'm gonna say barrel index inside barrel index equals 0. Well, let's say game object, by the way, sorry, rigid body. He needs to shoot bullets too, so I'm gonna add a public rigid body bullets. Okay, now he's gonna go shoot rigid, he's gonna instantiate bullets. Rigid body bullet equal instantiate a bullet. Now what it's going to say is he's going to instantiate it from one of his barrels, and the barrel index dot position and barrel index dot rotation as rigid body. And then once he shoots, then I'm gonna increase the barrel index plus. Now if the barrel index equals 0 and 1, so if it's equals 2, right, then the barrel index should become 0, so he switch back to the previous barrel. It doesn't go area out of bounds exception. So this is here, and the bullet is instantiated, and the bullet needs to be added some force. So bullet dot add force, bullet dot transform dot forward multiplied by 50, and then force mode dot impulse, same as the players. Okay, that's pretty much that. and then barrel bullet. This should work. Now we also need to add this shoot inside here, player inside. So he's going to be shooting the player if the player is in sight. So ready to shoot come down here. It's going to wait half a second every time between every shot with the start coroutine calling ready to shoot coroutine. Then it's going to instantiate, then it's going to add force to bullet. It's going to switch between two barrels. And let's see how this works. Oops, we didn't give him his bullet. He needs his bullet. Choose top. See, there's no bullet and there are no barrels. So we need to actually add these barrels. Enemy top. Remember we added barrels before? Or actually we didn't add them. Let's add them right now. So bot body top add create barrel 1, and then I'm gonna make sure this barrel is right by the left, his left gun. Okay, and then I'm gonna copy this, Control D or Command D if you're on Mac. It's gonna duplicate this and make sure this one is owned by the next gun. Barrel 1, let's call this barrel 2. So choose top, add the barrels into the array, barrel 1, barrel 2. Now we need to add the bullets, so go to prefabs, choose bullets, add it here. Now choose the enemy prefab, apply changes, and let's see how this works now. He's actually shooting at us every half a second, and we can shoot him. And we killed him. So that's how you create a very simple AI with a waypoint system and a shooting system. And I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. In the next video we're gonna do some user interface, Unity new UI, and see you there.